I'm so ready. I got someone's got some very good news. It's gonna go crazy, so I'm gonna take this. My name's Greg Price. I'm gonna moderate for this wonderful panel full of the most talented people here this weekend. That's my opinion. And let's start off by introducing to you someone that I've known. I feel like I've known him my entire life. He was the gateway cow. He was also the belch and elf. Very well done. I think he was nominated for that. And of course, he is the brain. Ladies and gentlemen, Maurice LaMarche. He was also the delivery guy in Steel Magnolia. We all know him at the nominated performance of Larry Falkwell in Steward of School. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the lovely Rob Paulsen. And I made it special. We told you that there was going to be a guest that wasn't going to make it, but you know what? I'm here for you.
Yeah!
My job is to be here for you, and you guys can take whatever seat you like. I said he wasn't going to be here, decided, you know what, he is going to be here after all. Ladies and gentlemen, with no big, huge introduction.
Hello, Tampa!
Tampa, because you don't have to sweat, you just walk out into the street and it's close to you.
These gentlemen don't sweat, they glisten.
They invented the term dewy just for them.
Yes.
I'm not really needed for this panel, so I appreciate they asking me, because you guys are really just amazing folks. I mean, Jim's got a podcast, Rob's, you had a podcast, but then it was on hiatus.
Your son is also part
and of
it.
course, Maurice is like the perennial guest.
I just guessed. I just go wherever the snacks are.
So let's talk about how you got into voice acting, and then I will unleash the crowd.
Great.
Questions will be
Not right now. I'm cleaning his oven.
So, I mean, I'm of an age that I know Maurice because I was raised in my formative years during the boom, the stand-up boom.
Oh my. Oh
And
yes.
I saw Maurice.
How about
at
that
stand-
tape, huh? I'm referring to one of his famous commercials.
Yeah. Oh, and I saw his stand-up special.
Yeah.
Oh, several of them, but the one with I guess the big thing is Sam Kinnison's big debut. But
Yeah.
it was really you that I liked.
The 1985 Young Comedian Special.
Yeah, my brother loved Sam Kinison, and so we were watching the special. But I really latched
love
on to
Sam
you
Kinison.
because you had all the voices.
Yeah. That was a great night in comedy. It was Saget, probably the first television Saget did. Yeah. Saget and I had our first night in comedy together. We both lined up at the Improv Labor Day weekend of 1977, and both of us had maybe done a couple open mic nights in our towns. We really considered doing the Improv open mic night as the night we, stuck the stake in the ground and said, "This is it. We're going to be comedians." And,
Excuse me, was Bud Friedman there that night?
no, Silver. Bud lost that Improv in the divorce. He had the Hollywood Improv, so Silver was there. And neither Bob nor I made the cut that night, but we saw each other 2 years later in Toronto. We were both, regulars at our home comedy clubs, and Bob was starting to tour. And the first thing he said was, "First night in comedy, first night in comedy," and that was our name for each other for the rest of his life. Whenever we saw each other, it was first night in comedy. Yeah. So Saget, Harry Basil, who now runs several comedy rooms in Las Vegas and directed 2 of Rodney's pictures. Bob Nelson, Rita Rudner, Louis Anderson, God rest his soul. A lot of us. It was our first TV, our first real big. I'd done a few Merv Griffin shows at that point, but Sam, very first time he'd ever been on television, and he just blew the doors off.
Yeah.
That's
I
for
forgot
sure.
Bob Nelson was on that one.
Yeah,
Bob
he was
Nelson was a
great.
very talented guy that I didn't
great.
see too much of. But And then, of course, you started off in acting. Like you didn't go from
Acting!
stand-up acting.
Well-
you started with the theater. No. How did
With
you-
respect, if you're referring to me, acting is a strong word.
Hey, you were in an Oscar-winning picture.
Well, I have been.
You weren't the reason, but it was.
Entirely. Yes. Well, I came out here ostensibly, or not here, L.A. from Michigan, from Detroit. Well, Flint, and I was a singer first, who became an actor. Yeah, I went to L.A. to do what one would.
Hell of a singer,
traditional
by the way.
stuff. Yeah.
Hell of a singer.
But what I did, and I think what all of us did, because we're from
Working at the video store to all of a sudden just being the go-to guy for pickups on voices, because you could do a lot of impressions. Where did the segue go? Because I never saw the transition. It was like one day he's working at the store, and next thing he's covering up for.
Well, you forgot the riverboats. I was a deckhand for 3 years.
Where's
It's a natural progression. Steel mill,
in New Orleans.
steel mill, video store,
From Youngstown,
deckhand, you know. And I'm the biggest failure anybody ever saw. I wanted to be a mime. So I can't tell you how I completely missed the mark. What's this? That was me being surprised. So yeah, I'm sorry. Was there a question?
No, I wanted to know how you got to your gig at Disney, because it doesn't sound like it's like
well,
a
Disney
secret.
was the first job I ever had. I mean, I was doing like local radio commercials and a couple TV here, but I mean local. You know, Anaheim and San Diego. Pardon me. And I made a demo tape in the Video Depot store with my buddy Chris Potter. He was an audio engineer, and I had a tape. And so I gave it to a customer, and he had just made this terrible. His name was Sal Romeo. He made a horrible B movie, and sorry I don't remember it. You didn't see it, trust me. But he said, "Well, I'm not doing anything right now. I don't want to do this." He said, "But you know what? I'll pass it around." And he passed it around to a man named Don Bluth, super Ned, you know, big time guy. And they called me up and said, "Wow, you know, we're not doing anything right now. We're doing video games and laser discs, but I'll hold on to it." And I went, "Oh, okay, well, I'll never hear from this guy again." And I didn't. But he did pass it along, and a guy named Frank Brandt called me up, and they were getting ready. They had started this mysterious thing called Disney Channel, and they were gearing up to do 65 episodes of a show, Dumbo's Circus. It's not on TV anymore, but it was people in costumes. Yeah, and anyway, I was Lionel, the lion, and it was kind of like Dumbo, and they were little people in costumes, and you know, they couldn't have a 4-foot mouse. It was Timothy. So I was Lionel the lion, and it was just basically a ripoff of Timothy, but it was a lion, and then it took a year and a half to get done, and by then I was doing other stuff, and I probably met Rob, and by then, and then Mo, and next thing you know, we're up there doing professional arm farts. You know.
So my last question before I jump into the audience, literally probably,
Mosh pit.
no, I'm too old for that. What were you guys each like as a child? Because I'll give you an example. Robin Williams, one of my favorite people in the history of the world, he grew up by himself, and so he learned all these voices by playing with. It sounds going to sound weird. Playing with himself in Detroit.
Well, he wasn't alone.
So when did you discover that your voices could do something different that the other kids couldn't, or did you keep it secret? Was it like your own little private thing, or were you doing it to desperately get attention?
We kept it secret. Yeah, right.
No, I'm trying to make you guys sound normal.
Yeah.
No, no.
Good luck.
Well, I was a bullied kid. I had the sort of the opposite. I wasn't the scrawny one. I was the kid too big for his grade, for his class.
Baby Huey?
Yeah, I had baby Huey syndrome, and so everybody thought I'd been left behind. Really, no. But I always, I just was awkward and odd, and then one day I was shooting for some food, and up from the ground come a no. I mean, I'd always parroted television shows, and you know, I used to walk to school doing Beaky Buzzard. That was my favorite impression. You know, when I was like kindergarten. Oh yeah, you know, baby. Yeah, and so you know, I had a lot of appointments with the school psychologist, and then one day. I'm in the schoolyard, and one of my teachers, this is 7th grade, is talking about this new show he saw, Columbo, and he's talking to like 4 girls, one of whom I had a crush on. You know, all 7th grade, all of us 7th grade, it was appropriate. And so, and he did this terrible impression of Peter Falk, and I don't know how it came out of me, but I just went, Mr. Fraser, sir,
Look at his eye, look at his eye.
But there's been a murder here. You're killing a Peter Falk impression. That's terrible.
And all of a sudden, everybody was, the 4 girls were like amazed that this other voice came out of my throat. And I was like, oh wow, it's like Kal-El, you know, taking the refrigerator door off with one hand. I discovered I had a superpower. And, you know, the next night I was watching the show The Persuaders, which I loved, with Tony Curtis and Roger Moore, pre-James Bond. And suddenly I started aping Tony Curtis. I'm the guy that Dave Coulier is imitating when he does his Tony Curtis. And I began building the voices, and before I was out of 7th grade, my friends and I had made a list of like 30 voices that I could do. And I went from being the kid that got picked on to do the voice, do that voice, do the voice. And it got me out of scrapes. I mean, I could hang out in the pool hall and make the, you know, we used to call them the hoods. I could make the hoods laugh, so I had protection. Because the tough kids looked out for me because I made them laugh while they were shooting pool and cutting school. What I was doing comedy and cutting school. And we all ended up not graduating, but I think I had a somewhat more marketable skill, strangely. Anyway, that's how
you really do the impressions where I feel you do some great impressions, but I also feel yours are far more like original, crazy. Like there's something wrong with Rob. It's probably what his parents said all the time.
I'm a court law, and I'm very proud of that.
Something about Mary and Rob.
I think that's very kind of you. I don't really do impressions. In fact, I mean, these guys, Frank, Kevin Michael Richardson, Jeff Bennett, I live and work, you know, with these guys. And so when people come up and say, hey, you're an impressionist, right? It's not like being an impressionist back in Flint, but out there, it's the A-team all the time. And to be able to have friends like these 2 folks and others whom we will discuss is really like winning the lottery, because I've had the privilege of knowing these 2 boys over 30 years, 35 years each. And the phrase, high tide raises all boats, is absolutely appropriate in this gig. I am so much better. And it's not...
Than either of us. You're right.
Than either of us. And the only reason I could be better than you guys at all is because of what they do. Every time, and I'm dead serious, every single time you walk in a room with this group, and you know, the ancillary folks, Nancy, Tress, keep going, Dee, Bradley Baker, whatever, over and over and over.
That's our homeroom.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And honest to God, you guys, that's the show. If you could sit and watch these guys work, John DiMaggio, Billy West, are you freaking kidding me? It is nothing short of astonishing. And it's most astonishing because these people are the most down-to-earth, utterly unpretentious, kindest people who have their egos completely in check. And the number of times
Well, except for
my son is here. He can.
My friend the brain has its own area code for his ego.
I thought we agreed there would be caviar.
But it's truly remarkable, and I can't get enough of it. I love my gig as much now as I ever have, and this stuff, to be able to do this and have a career long enough that we each have a legacy of characters that have made such an impact on people. And I don't know how many times we've all discussed this, but this experience, sort of writ large, is a huge dollop of socially fabulous whipped cream on a career that none of us ever expected.
Sure.
To be able to walk around and literally see beautiful, lovely strangers, and all Mo has to do is say yes, or Jimmy says, oh, bother, or I say March, or whatever. It's just
Do the Pooh voice again.
oh, bother. I came in 57th. No, it is an absolute privilege for which we've worked very hard, and we can't be more grateful. It's fantastic.
Yeah, amen. Amen.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's the stuff. I make a living doing the stuff that got me kicked out of
High
class.
school, yeah, it's that simple.
We're gonna say, it was very beautiful to say that about your coworkers, your colleagues, your friends, but you totally missed, we have no idea what you were like as a kid, that whole I'm like, how sad was it?
I was less handsome and less talented than Jim Cummings or
Oh,
Maurice
jeez.
LaMarche. I wanted to be a hockey player. I grew up, the only thing I wanted to be when I was a kid, first place was to play hockey for the Detroit Red Wings. I learned about
That's my world. And so, because it's a really silly thing, and if we were born in any other century besides the 20th, we'd have been burned at the stake as witches. Speaking in other people's voices.
Well, I never thought of that.
That's a great idea.
You know?
Wow, that
We'd have to
brought
keep
us
a lid on it,
a good
otherwise
place.
they'd go, oh, we need to speak with the voices surrounding you, Dangerfield, burn it. You know?
The microphone.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, I am going to unleash it on the crowd, and I have one particular young lady that I promised would go first because she was talking about, do we line up? Do we not line up? How do we do this? How do we do that? I go, you don't worry about it. You're first.
Well,
You have to
the-
cartwheel to the microphone.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's doing.
Now there is one rule though. You have to come up and say your name and your favorite dessert.
Yes.
Your favorite
See,
dessert.
so this you didn't know it was going to be tough.
So-
You win the prize
So
for
I'm
the
going to put the
coolest
microphone
hair.
in here. You do not take it.
Every part.
Well, I don't know if you guys ever saw it. It was a really cool thing. It was at the Disney World, Florida, and it was called Illuminations. And we did it for 1999, the turn of the millennium, and they just shut it down last year. It was for that 1 year, and it was just and then they sent me a poster.
Not even a check.
Wow.
Yeah.
Coulier wasn't available, and Bill Murray wasn't doing it, so I also got to be Dr. Peter Venkman. So I almost forgot I was in it, and then one day we were vacationing, and it was really surreal because they had live action actors up there lip syncing to my dialogue tracks. So it was very cool to watch people who aren't me, but who are actually, it's not animation, but they're not me, but my voice is coming out of their mouths. They're lip syncing to me, and I was like, that's to answer your question, that was my experience. That was just very cool.
Also,
Thank
one,
you.
thing,
Stuff.
one more thing, Jim. I loved blowing out the torches with you, with Illuminations. That's really
Yes,
special.
thanks. Oh, that's so
Thank you,
cute.
Emily.
Yeah, that's so
Bye,
sweet.
Emily.
Is he with a kid?
You know what? If you live by a local theater, playhouse, try out for plays. Go
Yeah.
in play.
It's about
'Cause
acting.
it's you're an actor.
Yeah, she's
They
doing
just can't see
gigs
you.
on the
So
internet and she's in YouTube already, but in case school-wise, instruction-wise.
Sure.
That's the best, that is the best schooling you can get, is actually being part of a theater group.
Stand-up, improv.
Studying improv is great, the groundlings type of thing, learning sketch comedy, everything but doing voiceover, because voiceover is the culmination of all those skills, and then you just cancel out the hair, lighting, makeup, key light, all of that stuff, and just act in front of a microphone. But do the other stuff. I took a writing class with Danny Simon, Neil Simon's brother, and I never ever wrote a script, but it changed the way I thought comedically. Danny taught me how to think more comedically as a character. So everything is grist for the mill. So I really encourage you to explore all aspects of performance, not just voice performance.
Very well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jimmy is an excellent drummer and has been playing drums his whole life. And all of us have, as Mo said, like grist for the mill. We all do things that allow us to sort of get out of our own way and fail where it doesn't matter if you fail, and you just take a punch and get up and keep doing it. And ultimately it all sort of coalesces But this is the time to do it, sweetie, because
Yeah.
you're young, and do it because you want to do it.
And she
The
is
best
very
reason.
good in what she do.
Great.
Yeah.
We're not. So,
So this thing
so
called
don't be too good, okay?
And nobody's looking for anybody, but they can't be looking for you.
That's right.
You just be you, the best you got. No, you don't have to
Amen.
imitate, you don't have to be anybody else, just be the best
And
you.
leave some pretty for the rest of the girls, will you? This is not fair.
Dwayne Hickman used to say, that's my favorite innuendo.
That's a really good one. Also, Mo, in Bubba Bobot Brain, there was a cartoon person
Dolly
who was
Parton?
supposed to be Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
what
know.
did she say? She says, she comes out and
Says
says,
something like, I think you're terrific. What do you think of that? And I say, I think that, or what do you say to that? I said, I would say that puberty has been inordinately kind to you.
Yeah, they have some of the writing. Oh, my
mine's very
God.
simple, it's 2 words.
I thought it was going to be the Prince joke.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
mine's fingerprints. I don't think so. Yeah, that's mine. And apparently, we were told, third or fourth hand, that Prince did indeed enjoy Animaniacs.
Yeah. And rightly so. Oh yeah, and I don't think about that at all. You know, somebody has to always try to poop on the coffee table, and I don't, you know, shame on them. You know, in reference to that last question.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
we've got about.
Where you get to take 2 characters from your illustrious careers that are from different franchises and they cross over for the first time. So for example, Donatello and Darkwing Duck, or Pinky and Carl, what would it be?
Oh, well, and if Ed lands on me, I would say probably, you know, Mr. Big from Zootopia and the Brain. I would be.
Well, what do you want to do tonight?
Well, I think I would like to avoid getting iced, Mr. Big. That's a start, and then we can try to take over Zootopia.
All right, but don't take no skunk butt rocks from nobody, all right?
I think you're. I would say, "Hey, Gad, Carl, Jimmy's mom is going on," and then Carl would say, "Kiss my ass, mouse hand,
And boy, I don't
and
know.
eat a croissant."
Well, I wound up doing Winnie the Pooh and the Anti-Pooh.
Tastes like poo.
I just cleaned up your poo, son. Blah, 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 yakety schmackety.
That's right. And then Pooh would say, "Oh bother."
Thank you so much.
Nice job, bud.